The Three Stooges was a popular American comedy team that was active from 1922 until 1970. They are best known for their 200 short subject films by Columbia Pictures. Their hallmark styles were physical farce and slapstick. The comedy team consisted of Moe Howard, Larry Fine, Shemp Howard, Curly Howard, Joe Besser, and Curly Joe DeRita. During the Great Depression, the Three Stooges rose to fame and brought smiles to people's faces with their dim-witted antics and their ability to relate to the common man. They refused to give up in the face of economic adversity. The Three Stooges were featured in several short films and features during the early 1930s. Some of the most notable films from this period include Meet the Baron, Dancing Lady, and Hollywood Party. They later added burlesque comic Joe DeRita, also known as Curly Joe, to their act and went on to star in several popular feature-length films from 1959 to 1965. The best among these films includes The Three Stooges Meet Hercules and Around the World in a Daze. The Three Stooges have an extensive filmography that includes over 200 short films and feature films. Moe Howard appeared in several feature films such as My Sister Eileen, The Outlaws Is Coming, and Snow White and the Three Stooges. Larry Fine also appeared in several feature films such as The Three Stooges Meet Hercules and The Outlaws Is Coming. The Three Stooges were originally played by Moe Howard, Larry Fine, and Curly Howard. After Curly suffered a stroke in 1946, he was replaced by his brother Shemp Howard. Shemp left the act in 1955 and was replaced by Joe Besser. Joe DeRita, also known as Curly Joe, replaced Besser in 1958 and remained with the act until it disbanded in 1970. Moe Howard worked as a child actor in vaudeville before he joined the Three Stooges. He was born in Brooklyn, New York on June 19, 1897, and began performing on stage at the age of 5. He later formed the Three Stooges with his brother Curly and friend Larry Fine. Larry Fine was born on October 5, 1902, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He began his career as a violinist and boxer before joining the Three Stooges. He was known for his frizzy hair and high-pitched voice. Curly Howard was born Jerome Lester Horwitz on October 22, 1903, in Brooklyn, New York. He was a child actor in vaudeville before he joined the Three Stooges. He was also known for his high-pitched voice and his ability to perform physical comedy. At a young age, Moe and Shemp, like many working-class Jews of their time, decided to pursue a career in show business. They had some success in various burlesque shows before teaming up in 1916 to perform a blackface routine. They continued this until 1922 when they ran into an old friend from Brooklyn, comedian Ted Healy, who was quickly becoming a star in vaudeville. Healy recruited them to be his sidekicks, and when Philadelphia musician and comedian Larry Fine joined the act, the Three Stooges were born. As the Stooges' popularity grew, Ted Healy became an increasingly marginalized figure, remembered only for his mistreatment of his co-stars and for the excessive drinking and erratic behavior that led to his violent death. Healy was a hugely successful entertainer and one of the biggest stars of his era, cited as an influence by comedy legends such as Red Skelton, Milton Berle, and Bob Hope. As the Stooges' mentor, he practically invented the brutal slapstick style that made them famous. While he may have cheated them out of their fair share of the profits, his pivotal role in their history deserves recognition. However, there is no doubt that Healy was a terrible boss, not only stingy with money but also an abusive and volatile drunk. The Three Stooges were married with children. Moe Howard was married to Helen Schonberger from 1925 until his death in 1975, and he also had 2 children named Joan and Paul. Moe Howard had several health issues throughout his life. He had a heart attack in 1955 and suffered from high blood pressure and angina. He also had a stroke in 1970. Larry Fine was married to Mabel Haney from 1926 until her death in 1967. He was also a father of 2 named Phyllis and John. However, Larry had several health issues throughout his life. He also suffered a stroke in 1970 and was partially paralyzed on his left side. He also suffered a heart attack in 1974 and died later that year. Curly Howard was married to Elaine Ackerman from 1937 until his death in 1952, fathering two daughters named Marilyn and Janie. Unfortunately, Curly Howard had a dependency on food and alcohol. So, in 1930, Ted Healy and his Stooges, who were never billed as the Three Stooges while working for Healy, appeared in the Fox Studios feature film Soup to Nuts. It was not a success. Healy's act, which relied heavily on ad-libs and improvisation, did not translate well to film, nor was he particularly photogenic, with a large nose and puffy face. The Stooges, however, impressed Fox executives and were offered a contract without Healy. Furious, Healy claimed that the Stooges were his employees and put a stop to the offer. When Larry, Moe, and Shemp found out about this, they decided to leave Healy anyway and strike out on their own. True to form, Healy was enraged and forbade them from using any of their old routines, which he considered his own copyrighted material. He even threatened to bomb theaters if the Stooges dared to perform there. In desperation, Healy attempted to salvage his act by hiring replacement Stooges. Incredibly, in 1932, Moe, who began acting as the group's business manager, managed to reconcile with Healy, and the Stooges began working with him again. It was not a happy reunion. Healy's Jekyll and Hyde personality, worsened by his heavy drinking, scared Shemp so much that he left the act to pursue a solo career making comedy shorts for Vitaphone in Brooklyn. This left the Stooges one man short. Shemp suggested that Moe's younger brother Jerry fill the gap. Healy was dismissive. With all the foresight of someone who drinks whiskey for breakfast, he took one look at the future Curly Howard, the most beloved of all the Stooges, and declared him unfunny. Admittedly, Jerry did not resemble his iconic alter ego at that point. He had long red hair and a handlebar mustache. Neither Moe nor Larry had much faith in Jerry's comedic abilities either. Moe flatly told Shemp that Jerry had no talent whatsoever. That changed abruptly when Jerry ran on stage during a Stooges routine with a freshly shaved head, wearing a bathing suit and carrying a small bucket of water. This earned him a huge laugh from the audience. Vaudeville audiences were easily amused, and one of the greatest comic performers of the 20th century had arrived. The Three Stooges were known for their bold and brash comedic style, characterized by cartoonish acts of violence such as slapping, punching, eye-poking, and hair-pulling, all accompanied by exaggerated sound effects. They often attacked each other with hammers, saws, and other sharp or blunt objects. Despite being criticized for their lowbrow humor for many years, their longevity eventually forced critics to acknowledge their expert comic timing and mastery of burlesque-style humor. Moe was the bully of the group, quick to resort to violence. Curly, the most popular member with both audiences and critics, was the childlike victim of Moe's abuse and expressed himself through a variety of squeals, grunts, physical antics, and cries of woo-woo. Larry was the somewhat passive middleman who often played the foil for both Moe and Curly. During the Curly years, the team made 97 short comedies, with the period from 1938 to 1942 considered particularly strong. The Three Stooges is a 2012 American slapstick comedy film based on the film shorts from 1934 to 1959, starring the comedy trio of the same name. The film was produced, written, and directed by the Farrelly brothers and co-written by Mike Cerrone. It stars Chris Diamantopoulos, Sean Hayes, and Will Sasso as Moe Howard, Larry Fine, and Curly Howard respectively. The story places the Stooges in a 21st century setting. This film brings their timeless humor into a modern setting while staying true to their original characters. With Curly on board, Ted Healy and his Stooges signed a one-year contract with MGM to make 5 shorts and a couple of full-length features, none of which proved remarkable. The contract was not renewed, and in 1934 Healy and his Stooges finally went their separate ways. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to leave your comments, like and share.